Perfect. Okay. I see people from all over the globe attending this webinar. Thank you all for joining our first live session of the year. Hopefully you are able to kickstart your year with some good figures. Today's session is basically the first out of 4 masterclasses we are going to do this year. And outbound go-to-market is the general topic we will cover. Today we will discuss the most important components we like to use for our own strategy, but also for the strategies of our clients. In short, we will talk about gathering insights about the value proposition and product market fit, the power of content and marketing material, and of course optimizing and the execution of your campaigns. Later in the year, we will discuss an extra topic, and it's about building your team with talented people. Times are changing, and so are the skills of a modern sales organization. So you need to adapt to keep it perform. Let's start with a brief introduction from our side. And after that, we will also like to know more about your reasons to join the session today. Well, of course, we are here with Brock, but I will start with my own introduction, and I will let Brock introduce himself afterwards. I'm Davy. I'm one of the founders of SalesLift Studio. I started the company together with Terry van der Bent almost 3 years ago. The reason for starting the company is that we saw a big problem on sales development at a lot of companies. There was a lack of structure. There was also a lack of strategy in the sales development teams, and we thought that we were able to improve that. We are now with an international team of 30 people on the payroll, and backed up by a flexible layer of external experts who can help us on all kinds of sales development related topics. Basically, what we do is we help B2B companies build modern sales machines. We are fully focused on top funnel activities, strategy, outsourcing, and the technology. Myself, for me, I have a background as a commercial director at several technology companies, and this is also where I started implementing and optimizing outbound activities. This started around 9 years ago. Besides that, I worked as a consultant to build outbound prospecting programs for a variety of companies through the years. What about you, Brock?
Nice intro, Davy. So yeah, well, actually talk about how I met Davy. So I'm Canadian, but I did a year abroad in Amsterdam, and I was keen to get into the commercial scene. So I was doing an internship, and that's how I got introduced to Davy. And then after that, COVID, decided to do my master's in Lisbon. And there I'd built a business, and during that time, Davy had mentioned that he started a company, and I really liked the story that he was telling about modern sales machines. And it seemed that I had something to add as far as the way that I could contribute to analytics and design thinking. And so that's what I'm bringing to SalesLift in sales in general, is looking at analytics and design and how we can improve strategy.
Yeah, thank you for your introduction, and very fruitful so far, of course. We are a bootstrap company, and we went from 0 to 2 million in annual recurring revenue in the past 2.5 years. And today we hope to inspire you and share some of our insights on outbound go-to-marketing strategies. But before we start, we would like to know a bit more about your reason why you are here, because the outbound go-to-market landscape can be overwhelming. It is hard to figure out how to start, and even worse, how to fix and optimize your underperforming outbound activities. Individuals, teams, but also entire companies are often stuck in their own tunnel vision, and it's hard to get out. You need a different view, you need a different perspective. And this is also what we would like to share with you in the coming 35-40 minutes. We will share some of our tools, some of our insights you can use as a framework to start from scratch, or to use as a checklist to basically fix your own outbound activities. And we will walk you through based on our own story, and that's what Brock is going to do, based on our own experience and based on our own go-to-market strategy. Before we start, I would like to do a poll to get to know you a bit better, and to find out what the reason is for you to attend this session today. And if I am right, you see it in your screen right now. No?
Yeah, I'm seeing it.
Yes, there was a delay, but I see a lot of answers coming in now. Okay. 50% is in need of a proper outbound strategy.
And I'm just curious in the chat. So when you say proper outbound strategy, is data and analytics something that's important to you, that you're looking to incorporate more and more?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Do you consider this as part of the outbound strategy?
Yeah.
Indeed, that's a very good question.
Well, I'll let you guys. I'll let you guys. The chat.
Well, we are almost on 100%. So I think 55% is here for a proper outbound strategy. Then 25% of the people want to learn more about creating and using marketing materials. 20% wants to book more meetings. And then the rest of the answers is a bit spread out. Couple of people are here for other reasons. Very curious what the reasons are.
But I think, I mean, also we chose, right, the options to give you.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to hit on a bit of all these things today. So hopefully, well, I think everybody can get a little bit of value. Nice. So we see the results here. That's perfect. So yeah, why did we bring you here today? And in our defense, okay, the two papers that I'm going to show you now were published after the founding of the company. So were they copying us? You know, I'll let you decide. But basically, what are we getting at here? So at a high level, we're trying to achieve personalization, but we're going to talk into this webinar of what personalization actually means. We're talking about speed, so how we can learn and scale fast. And also we're going to talk about ideal outcomes. And this is basically being able to diagnose why you had success and then being able to repeat best practices. And then by doing this, yes, you can enjoy lower costs and higher growth. And so again, this is the higher level, but with McKinsey, it talks more about, yeah, how do you compose a team to then pull off these higher level objectives? And what they highlight here is that it's really about building a commercial operations team, which is fueled by all stakeholders responsible for communication. But then you have to structure your team with data and analytics to have this purpose-driven strategy that everybody wants. And now you may be thinking, okay, data and analytics isn't relevant for me at this point. I think that's a fair retort, but you would be surprised at how low the barriers are to data and analytics and how valuable it can be. So hopefully we can add some importance to that. And so we got to start somewhere, and you may roll your eyes at this, but this is something that we see companies constantly struggle with, is having a constant definition of their value proposition and product market fit. So whether it's you or your team, clients, or your prospect, we find everyone has a different definition of your value proposition and what your product market fit is. And it's really important to develop a common understanding and a common language between everyone. And this is something that takes research before, during, and after you implement it. And Davey's just going to talk about how we did it.
Yeah, so in the beginning, our growth came from organic reach, of course, our own network, friends, ex-colleagues, etc. We had a huge variety in clients, most of them successfully, but not all, of course. And to find out who our own ICP is, we needed to do some research. So how we started is we analyzed our client base intensively in search for similarities to understand why we can be successful and for what kind of companies. So we looked at more than 30 different indicators, such as the maturity of a company, the maturity of the target persona we were talking to, the company size, if the companies had an in-house sales team, yes or no, what kind of industry, if there were language barriers, we looked at their growth figures, their proposition, the size of their target audience, their own deal sizes, but also the experience of the company when it was founded, for example. So all kinds of criteria we looked at to identify if we were successful or not. In the end, we were able to clearly identify 4 groups of companies where we are successful. And one of them are SaaS companies in a specific growth stage and matching some specific criteria on proposition, markets, and challenges. And we looked further into this specific ICP, and this is also what Brock did, and how he did it is he used sort of a persona card.
And yeah, so basically what this is where things, when you look at building a common understanding between you, your clients, and your team, this is kind of where we started, and maybe you should think about starting as well. So this is mapping out your value proposition for one of your given personas. And what this is a living document that gives a 360-degree view of exactly that, your value proposition. So yeah, just looking at the key aspects of this. And it's important to note that when you start with something like this is your key assumptions. This is what you think. Again, your differentiators, your objections, pain relievers, and the levels of your proposition. But as you conduct your outbound sales and as you have conversations, you're better to understand really the contents of this persona card. So what starts out as assumptions then becomes knowledge, and that's when you start to really firm, yeah, exactly that, computing your value proposition and start seeing some success. And so next we're going to go through building a lead list and kind of, yeah, how you come up with the target audience for this persona card.
Yeah, and were you looking for a specific target audience?
In this one, yeah, so again, relating to our SaaS. So that's what the example is here. With the criteria that you had earlier is looking for those senior sales titles, a growing company, between 10 and 100 in the UK, and we decided not to be industry specific. So we were looking at a larger target market.
Yeah, exactly. And to build a proper lead list based on the criteria Brock just mentioned, you also need a proper tech stack. Well, this is part of our tech stack because we are running more than 100 outbound campaigns for our clients. We need different data to make sure we can reach the right audience for each of them. And the need for a different kind of tool can change over time. When you just start as a company, You don't need top of the build tooling, because the tooling itself is not going to make your outbound campaign successful. So it can help you. It will make your process more efficient, but in the end, you need to use it to prove that your strategy you put on paper is working. And when you start small, you can start with some basic tooling in a basic tech stack, and you can make steps along the way. We can only justify the cost for the tech stack we have because we are very heavy users, of course. Yeah, some examples like, okay, so in the example Brock mentioned, for our own campaigns, we can start with Sales Navigator. So for a lot of clients, Sales Navigator is a perfect way to start building your lead list. But there are also other examples and other tools in the first step of this process. For example, BuildWith. So BuildWith is a tool where you can identify all kinds of technology that are connected to websites. And we used it in a campaign for Freshworks, for example, to identify what kind of technology was now connected to potential clients and make sure we address the communication based on the technology they were already using. Another example is that we are a certified SalesLoft partner, so we can help SalesLoft clients improve their outbound strategy, but they can also make use of our services, technology with the Lead Studio or with the outsourcing part. So we were able, with, in this case, LeadIQ, to identify all kinds of companies within the UK and the Netherlands and in Germany, which were already using SalesLoft, which were already a SalesLoft client. If you are searching for data which is stored in the Chamber of Commerce, you can work with a tool. You can start with Dun & Bradstreet, for example. In this case, Brock used a combination between Sales Navigator and Crunchbase because we were searching for technology companies, but also technology companies that were funded, and that's data that is coming from Crunchbase. And that's how we started building a lead list and started extract contact information and building the campaign later on.
And so basically, this is another tool that we developed in-house, kind of an extension, if you will, of the persona card. And once we have our story kind of on paper and gives us a basis for our strategy, we then go into building our content in marketing. And already, so I think what's important to focus on here is what exactly is personalization. So again, just referring back to this, we're going to talk about how to personalize with speed. And then going back to the McKinsey paper, we're going to talk about more how do you work within your team to actually do this. And so this is a brief overview of how we develop like really nice communication. So it all starts with business development. You have an idea of a new persona you want to reach out to, maybe a geography, and you want to test and discover a new market. And what we often see is that marketing and sales are working in silos. And so there's important discoveries that marketing is making that would be useful for sales, and vice versa from sales for marketing. And so what we do is we use the marketing content in our sales outbound and also conversations. And then we get direct feedback, which we then give to business development on if it is a product market fit or improvements maybe that we need to make. And then also we give it to marketing, the insights, to say, hey, this is really resonating. Let's develop more content around this. Or yeah, this wasn't really grabbing attention. We need to pivot onto something else.
Yeah, and what we do for our clients and also for ourselves is that we are building a multi-channel strategy that is well orchestrated with at least 9+ touch points, and always with the intention to add value in every contact moment. So I think bottom line is that your prospects are the most valuable asset in your business. So you also need to treat them like that. What you see a lot is that people are going for short-term results with also short-term strategies. So we really believe in building sustainable relationships and by adding value and be relevant in all the communication we do with our prospects. So a lot of companies, when we explain this story, they always agree. So they believe in a sophisticated way of doing outbound sales, but they don't necessarily do so. And there are different reasons why not, of course. So again, they are pushed sometimes from the top by short-term results and short-term strategies. In the situation we're in, you all also facing limited capacity, internal, but also there are a lot of vacancies outstanding out there. There are silo departments, and often there is also a conflict in interests. And it is a complex way of working. So if you don't have any experience with building modern sales machines, then it's super hard to start from scratch. So you need help with that. And if you didn't experience the long-term value of building modern sales machines yet, then you don't know what to expect. And that's also very important in making a start, of course, to think ahead and think about what it can do on the long term for your organization, but also for your own campaigns.
All right, so where to start, right? Because it's tough to start from scratch. And I know not everybody has something like this, but this is something to think about maybe developing for yourselves in the future. So for example, because we've worked with and developed a lot of messaging for a lot of different clients, we're able to go in and look at the cadences, so the messaging structures that we've created for companies of a similar profile. So for example, I went into our database and was looking for agencies who we've reached out to in the UK, and also for C-suite, because that's the level we were talking to. And so here I was able to define what were the most successful campaigns. And of course, when you find a successful campaign, you want to find out what was really interesting within this campaign. So then I'm able to go in, I'm able to look at the different messaging that we tested and able to see what success we had. So this just gives me a basis for how to talk to someone, how long the message needs to be, and actually some other insights, but I'll get into it on the next page. So yeah, basically what I found from the data is, especially with the CEO, who I was reaching out to, is that it's important to speak eye to eye. So you don't want to start pitching and put yourself at a lower position. It was much better to message as a peer and as someone you wanted to network with. And also staying short and relevant was super important. So this gave me a nice basis. And this also supports another tool that we built in-house, the predictable prospecting matrix. And so this also supplements the other research that you kind of do when you curate your approach. So for example, sales lift, we're a bit more of a complex proposition. Also, we have lower brand awareness, so we're in the bottom left to start. But for example, if you're like FedEx and you have high brand awareness and you have a simple proposition, you're probably in that top right corner. And so for us, our challenge is, how do we start to network well so that we can move over to educating people so that we then have the credibility we need to sell. And then this, tied with the segmentation that we do, helps us stay relevant and deliver value. And the rule of thumb is kind of the more you segment, the more relevant in value you're going to be able to deliver. And something to keep in mind is that it's better actually to be more specific than less, because it's easy to lose credibility, but it's hard to gain it. And yeah, on top of this, so we've looked at the data, we've looked at kind of our tools, how we line the ecosystem, and then you actually have to do your qualitative review. And these are this is an important step in the process, because so often I think we're defining value proposition for ourselves and how we think it sounds, and we're defining the problem, but we're not using the language of our existing customers and new prospects. So by really listening how they're framing their problem and how they're defining also their solution and what they need to see as proof, we're much better suited to communicate and resonate with them. And so finally, what does this all kind of look like when you're ready? This is a screenshot that I took from SalesLoft, just to give you an example. So based off of the qualitative interviews, the data, and looking at the structure of our approach and segmenting, we were able to develop all different kinds of messaging to then test and see what kind of success we were looking for. And at the end of the day, it really comes down to this, right? Like, it's your personal brand on the line. So just before you press send on an email, you just have to think like, am I proud of what I'm sending? Is this building credibility or is this losing it? And yes, an important piece of the puzzle. And so just breaking this down, when you send an email, there's some key performance indicators that you really need to keep in mind. And this is what we're always keeping an eye on. So one, of course, is the people you send it to. But another important one is open. So are people actually receiving my message? I mean, it seems obvious, but it's true. Also in SalesLoft, we have a feature, hot leads. So you're able to see who is opening your email regularly. And this gives you a really nice indicator is if you're pulling on the right threads or not. So if you don't have any hot leads, people probably aren't interested in what you're doing. But if you're getting more and more, you're on the right track. And then of course, the successes that you see here, this is actually, you've convinced people to book a meeting with you. So that's, of course, the most important at all. And what I'm showing you here is an overview if you're testing multiple approaches at the same time. And so depending on the size of your target market and the resources that you have, you can test a bunch of different value propositions and marketing material here and see how it resonates. And this helps you learn very fast and curate your messaging. So for example, if you're reaching out, you might start with something of kind of a lower success rate, but once you find out after, let's say, reaching to, for me, I do 20 people. So I need to say that 1 out of 20 people is going to book a meeting. This gives me a good idea of what's having success and what's not.
Yeah, and then when your your audience size is huge, this can, where your target audience size is around 1,000 or 5,000, this can make a huge difference. Mm-hmm.
And it's not something that takes a lot of leads to do either. Like, you'd be surprised at how quick the insights you can get. So again, like, the rule of thumb is 1 success for 20 opens, or at least that's what we do. Like 5% is above an industry average. And so, yeah, just sending it to 30, 40 people, and you can already get some nice insights. So just to overview, you execute your campaign, you monitor your KPIs, and based off of certain benchmarks, you're able to, make the key amendments that you need to in your content writing, but also your marketing approach. And so next steps. So what did this mean for us in this case? So for the UK, we found a successful outbound approach, and we were able to, again, turn the value proposition assumptions into concrete knowledge of how to resonate with people. And so this gives you then a great basis of learning to apply it to another market. And in our case, it's the rest of Europe. So what is a large market? Yeah, with the UK, we can then reach a larger market with Europe, and we don't have to start from scratch because we have concrete learning. And this is just so important for our business strength, basically.
Yeah, and I think an important thing is that you are able to repeat what is successful, and test it, repeat it. If it's successful, you can copy it, and you can get the learnings out of it. And then, of course, work on it with your entire team, so they also know the success and where the success comes from.
Yeah, exactly. And so, as you may have noticed in this webinar, it was kind of a higher level overview of the key pillars. But what we're going to do going forward is really go into the to each one of the three pillars that we talked about. So the value proposition, content and marketing, and then really like, how do you optimize? And that'll be the contents of the webinars that we have going forward. So I think the next one that we'll look to host is sometime in April. And there we're going to focus on value proposition segmentation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is it for today.
Yeah, so let us know. Do you guys have any questions about what we had? Like what was clear, what was not? I'm curious for any feedback.
Yeah, I also I have some insights here in the chat. Indeed, healthy numbers are important for generating outbound sales. Yeah, that's a good one. Can you give an example for each category of the prospecting matrix? Well, we can definitely do that, right?
We can indeed.
Let's go back to the prospecting matrix slide. Well, well, maybe you can use the example of a SaaS company we recently worked for.
Yeah, for sure. So basically, they had an extremely complicated value proposition and low brand awareness. So this is a European company that's going into the US market. And when you're doing this, like it's complex, people don't really understand it. Like they don't have the need, they can't really define it. And so when you can't define it, for example, websites, this is more simple. But if you're talking a workplace solution, what is a workplace solution? Why is it important, right? This is more complicated. You're in the bottom left. And so when you're reaching out, you want to start broad and relevant. And so by doing this, you know, you're not getting too specific too soon, and the person just blows you off. And so by taking a more slow approach and building actually your personal brand identity, you can have some success in networking. You can also do this by researching. So say, hey, I'm developing a product. I'd love for your feedback. This is also something that people are quite interested in. And then what you're doing also by building a dialogue is you get in front of them and then you're able to educate. And you can also do this with your outbound as well. If you find that you're getting nice open rates and engagement. And then, yes, once you've educated, then moving to sales is quite nice as well. But then, for example, if you are a website development company, so your web proposition is more simple, but you have lower brand awareness, something that you need to think about doing is inspiring. So, for example, everybody knows websites, but like, what is going to differentiate you? So maybe you inspire people with a beautiful design or an incredible idea, and then this gives you the privilege of engaging in a sales conversation. So that's the kind of thinking that you need to have when you're looking at the prospecting matrix.
Yeah. And every time you're going to work on a different campaign, you plot your proposition, your campaign, your service in this matrix, and it will give you guidance to structure your outbound campaign later on when you start working on your communication. Right. Any other questions? No, I think that was it, Brock.
Well, I think Terry asked, what do you do exactly? So I'm just going to sum it up in a nutshell. You're a company and you want to scale your sales quite fast. Okay, but it's complicated. You don't have maybe the resources in-house, or you don't have the knowledge of the tech stack or messaging strategy to really scale. So what we help you do is you come in and we say, all right, basically, here's how we're going to define your messaging. Here's how we're going to define your person. We're going to get this out at scale. And from the continuous feedback that we're going to get you in front of a more relevant person, in better yet, even with better sales language. And so you're able to book meetings with the right people and able to, close deals faster, I would even say.
Yeah.
So I hope that gives some nice insight.
Yeah, in a predictable manner.
Yeah.
Okay, then this is it for now. Well, this is the first session out of 4 for this year. We want to thank you for joining, of course. Afterwards, we will share the recording. We will definitely invite you on LinkedIn. We also had a lot of attendees from the US, so we will probably have another session which is set on a more suitable time. That's it for now. Brock, thank you for your explanation.
Yeah, thanks as well, Davey. And thanks for everybody for tuning in and for giving us your time. I hope you got
Yes.
something interesting from it.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.